The stars looked beautiful through the viewport, pressed her hand against the cold glass and smiled. She was 19 years old and far from home, but she had never been happier. The research station orbited a planet called Nexus 7, a neutral world where many species came to trade and talk. Worked in the biology lab, studying how different alien plants could help grow food in space. She was one of the youngest humans to work at the station. Her parents had been scared when she applied for the job, but wanted to see the galaxy. She wanted to prove that humans could work alongside other species, that they could be friends. "The supply ship is ready," said her supervisor through the communicator. "You should head to the dock." Grabbed her bag and hurried through the station corridors. She was going home for 2 weeks to visit her family on Earth. Her brother would be waiting for her. She had so many stories to tell him. The supply ship was small, just big enough for cargo and a few passengers. Climbed aboard with 3 other humans and 2 aliens from a species called the Fin. They had blue skin and kind eyes. One of them smiled at as she sat down. "First time going home?" the Fin asked. "Yes," said. "I have been at the station for 6 months. Your family will be happy to see you." The ship left the station and entered the dark space between worlds. The journey would take 3 days. Spent the first day reading and sleeping. On the second day, she talked with the other passengers and learned about their lives. Everything felt peaceful. Then the alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed throughout the ship. The pilot's voice came over the speaker, shaking with fear. "Unknown vessel approaching. They are not responding to our signals. Brace for." The ship shook violently, fell from her seat and hit the floor hard. The lights went out. Emergency lights came on, painting everything in red. She heard the other passengers crying out in fear. Metal screamed against metal. Something was cutting into the hull. His heart pounded in her chest. She tried to stand, but her legs would not work properly. The door to their cabin exploded inward. Creatures poured through the opening. They were tall, covered in green scales with eyes like a snake. They had seen pictures of them, but never in person. They were one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. Their empire controlled dozens of worlds. "On your knees, soft skins," one of them shouted. His voice was like rocks grinding together. The passengers dropped to their knees, was shaking. Why were they attacking them? This was neutral space. There were laws against this. A wearing black armor walked into the cabin. The others stepped aside for him. He must be their commander. He looked at each passenger slowly, his tongue flickering out to taste the air. "Humans," he said, stopping in front of. "How interesting." "Please," said. Her voice was barely a whisper. "We are just traveling. We have not done anything wrong." The commander laughed. It was a terrible sound. "Your species thinks you can join the galaxy as equals. You think you can sit with real powers and make demands. Someone needs to teach you your place." He grabbed by the hair and pulled her to her feet. She screamed. The other human passengers tried to stand, but the soldiers hit them with weapons. They fell back down. "Let the others go," the commander said to his soldiers. "We only need one. This one will do perfectly." "No," one of the Finn passengers shouted. "She is just a child. The Galactic Assembly will." A soldier hit the Finn with the back of his weapon. The kind alien fell silent. They dragged to their ship. She fought and screamed, but they were too strong. The last thing she saw was the faces of the other passengers, full of horror and helplessness, before the door sealed shut. The ship was dark and cold. They threw into a small room with metal walls. The door locked behind her. She pounded on it until her hands hurt, but no one came. Hours passed, maybe days, could not tell time in the darkness. She was so scared she could barely breathe. She thought about her family, about would she ever see them again. The door finally opened. The commander walked in with 2 soldiers. "What do you want from me?" asked. "If you want money, my family does not have much, but—" "We do not want money," the commander said. His name was, she had heard the others call him that. We want your species to understand something. You are weak. You are nothing, and nothing you do will ever change that." "I do not understand," said. "You will," replied. What happened next would never be able to fully remember. Her mind blocked most of it out to protect her. She remembered pain, so much pain. She remembered screaming until her voice was gone. She remembered begging them to stop, but they never did. They recorded everything, made sure of that. He sent small pieces of the recordings to Earth's government, just enough to show what they were doing to her, just enough to make her family suffer too. "Tell your government," said into the camera, "that this will stop when Earth bows to the Empire, when you admit you are lesser beings, when you pay us the tribute we deserve." 3 days felt like 3 years. His body broke. Her spirit almost broke too. Almost. Deep inside, in a place they could not reach, she held on to one thought, one hope. Would come for her. Earth would come for her. They had to. On the 4th day, grew bored. "Dump her at the human outpost in Sector 9, he told his crew. "Let them see what happens to those who think they are our equals." They threw his broken body into a small escape pod and launched it toward the nearest human station. Inside the pod, barely conscious, whispered one word over and over. "Please." The pod drifted through space, its emergency beacon flashing in the darkness. Hours later, a human patrol ship found it. When they opened the pod and saw what was inside, the soldiers wept. They rushed to the medical bay and sent an urgent message to Earth. The message was simple. "They have taken one of ours. She still lives, but barely." Back on Earth, in a military command center, his brother watched the fragmented videos that had sent. His hands gripped the edge of the table so hard his knuckles turned white. Around him, other officers stood in silence. One of them put a hand on shoulder. "We will respond," the officer said quietly. Did not look away from the screen. His sister's screams echoed in the room. "Yes," he said, his voice was cold as ice. "We will." The medical station smelled like chemicals and fear. Walked through the white corridors with heavy steps. Each step brought him closer to his sister's room. Each step made his heart beat harder. A doctor met him outside's door. The doctor's face was tired and sad. "She is stable," the doctor said, "but the damage. Commander, I do not know if she will ever fully recover. Not just her body. Her mind went through something no person should experience." "Can I see her?" asked. The doctor nodded and opened the door. Lay in the bed connected to many machines. Bandages covered most of her body. Her face was swollen and bruised. She looked so small, so broken. Had to hold onto the doorframe to keep standing. This was his little sister. The girl who used to chase butterflies in their garden. The girl who dreamed of stars and peace and friendship with alien species. The girl who believed the galaxy could be better. They had destroyed her for nothing, just to prove a point, just to show their power. Sat beside her bed. He took her hand gently. It was so cold. "I am here," he whispered. "You are safe now." Her eyes opened slightly. They were empty, far away. Her voice was barely a sound. "Yes, it is me." "It hurt so much," she said. A tear ran down her cheek. "I thought I was going to die." "You are strong. You survived." "I do not feel strong." Her hand shook in his. "I feel broken." Wanted to cry, but he did not. He had to be strong for her. "You will heal, I promise." But closed her eyes again and said nothing more. The machines beeped quietly in the room. 2 hours later, received a message on his communicator. "Report to command immediately." He kissed forehead and left. The command center was deep underground, below the military headquarters in Geneva. Had been there many times before. He was a decorated officer, one of Earth's best tactical commanders. But he had never seen it like this. The room was full of the highest-ranking officers in Earth's military. Fleet Admiral Park stood at the center. She was a woman in her 60s, with gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. "Commander," she said, "we are sorry about your sister." "Thank you, Admiral." "The Galactic Assembly has sent us a message," Admiral Park continued. "They urge us to pursue diplomatic solutions. They say violence will only make things worse. They suggest we file a formal complaint and wait for the Empire to respond." His jaw tightened. "And what did we tell them?" Admiral Park smiled. It was not a kind smile. "We told them we are considering their advice. We recalled all our ambassadors. We closed our borders. We have gone silent." "The galaxy thinks we are afraid," another officer said. "They think we are hiding like frightened animals." "Let them think that," Admiral Park said. She looked at, "You have watched the recordings, all of them." It was not a question. Nodded. He had watched every second that's sent to Earth, every moment of his sister's suffering. "Then you understand," Admiral Park said, "that diplomacy is not an option. Not this time. The Empire needs to learn a lesson. The entire galaxy needs to learn a lesson." She pressed a button. The lights dimmed. A screen appeared on the wall. "What you are about to see," Admiral Park said, "is classified at the highest level. Only 30 people in the entire Earth government know about this. Now you will be the 31st. The screen showed a facility hidden deep in the mountains of Norway. Inside, men and women trained in ways had never seen. They moved like shadows. They killed with efficiency that was almost beautiful in its precision. "For 20 years, Admiral Park explained, we have been preparing for this moment. We knew that one day someone would test us. Someone would hurt our people and expect us to do nothing. So we created something secret. Something the galaxy would never expect from peaceful humanity." "What is it?" asked. "We call them the silent executioners." More images appeared. Files, names, faces, Wu, Sara, Jin. Each one was an expert in death. "They are not soldiers," Admiral Park said. "Soldiers fight wars. These people do something else. They deliver justice. Cold, precise, and without mercy." "You want them to hunt the who hurt," said. "Not just the ones who hurt her. Everyone involved. Everyone who knew. Everyone who helped. Everyone who did nothing to stop it. We will send a message the galaxy will never forget. Harm a human, and there is no place in the stars where you can hide." Looked at the faces on the screen. "When do they start?" "They already have," Admiral Park said. "And her team left Earth 3 days ago. They are already in space." "I want to join them." Admiral Park studied him for a long moment. "You are too emotional. You want revenge for your sister." "Yes," said he. Did not try to hide it. "I want revenge, but I am also the best tactical commander you have. You know this. I can help them." "Your sister needs you here." "My sister needs me to make sure this never happens to anyone else. She needs me to show her that monsters can be defeated, that evil does not go unpunished." Admiral Park looked at the other officers. They nodded slowly. "Fine," she said, "but you follow orders. She leads this mission. You are just another member of the team. Can you accept that?" "Yes, Admiral." "Then go. A transport leaves in 2 hours. It will take you to the rendezvous point." Saluted and turned to leave. "Commander," Admiral Park called after him, "remember something. We are not doing this just for your sister. We are doing this for every human who will come after her. We are making sure the galaxy knows we are not weak. We are not prey. We are not victims. Touch one of ours and we will burn your world to ash." Smiled. It was a cold, terrible smile. "I understand, Admiral." In the medical station slept. She dreamed of pain and darkness, but somewhere deep in her mind something else stirred. A hope. A belief that her brother would make things right. In the cold void of space, a small transport ship moved silently toward territory. Inside, sat alone in the pilot's chair. She was 35 years old, with short black hair and scars on her hands from years of training. She had never failed a mission. She did not plan to start now. Her communicator beeped. A message from Earth. "New team member joining you. Commander, ETA 12 hours. Read the file on, excellent record, smart, deadly, but his sister was the victim. That could be a problem. She would watch him carefully. If he let emotion control him, she would send him back. This mission was too important. But if he could channel his anger into cold precision, he might be useful. Looked at the star map. His last known location was marked in red. He had gone to a fortress world, thinking he was safe behind his empire's military might. He was wrong. Began planning. She had 5 team members already in position across space. Soon she would have 6, and then the hunt would truly begin. On the fortress world, Commander sat in a bar, drinking and laughing with his crew. They joked about the human girl, about how easy she had been to break, about how weak her species was. Earth has gone silent, one of his soldiers said. They are too afraid to even respond. Laughed. Of course they are. They know they cannot touch us. We are the strong. He took another drink. He did not know that in the shadows outside the bar, someone was watching him, taking pictures, recording his voice, learning his patterns. The hunt had begun, and would be the last to know. The transport ship landed on a small moon at the edge of space. No one lived there. It was just rock and dust and silence, perfect for a secret meeting. Stepped off the ship and saw 6 people waiting for him. They wore simple civilian clothes, the kind travelers wore. They looked ordinary, but their eyes were not ordinary. They were the eyes of predators. A woman stepped forward. She was shorter than, but something about her made him want to stand. "I am," she said. Her voice was calm and cold. "You are late." "The transport had engine trouble," said. "Excuses do not matter here. Results matter." She gestured to the others. "Wu, Sora, Jin, we are the silent executioners. Now you are one of us." Nodded to each of them. Wu was a big man with rough hands, had soft features, but her gaze was sharp as a knife, carried himself like a weapon. Sora barely looked up from her computer tablet. Jin smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. "We know about your sister," continued. "We are sorry for what happened to her, but you need to understand something right now. This mission is not about revenge. It is about sending a message. Can you separate your feelings from the work?" Met her eyes. "I can do what needs to be done." "Good, because if you cannot, I will send you back to Earth in a box." She turned and walked toward a small building. The others followed, went last. Inside, Sora had set up computers and screens everywhere. Maps of space covered the walls. Faces of soldiers marked with red dots. "These are our targets," said, pointing to the faces. 43 individuals, Commander and every member of his crew. We have tracked them all. Some are still together, some have scattered. It does not matter. We will find them. We will eliminate them, all of them." How asked. "By being what they think we are," Wu said. His voice was deep and rough. "Weak, scared, harmless." Smiled. "They see humans as prey. They do not fear us. They do not watch for us. That is their mistake." Sora touched her tablet. One of the screens changed to show a trading station. "I have already inserted us into their systems. According to their records, we are refugees, merchants, workers looking for jobs. They do not even notice us." "The first targets are here," said, pointing to 3 faces. "Vex and they were the ones who held your sister down while hurt her. They are currently on the trading station Sora just showed us." His hands formed fists. He forced them to relax. "Jin will handle them," said. Jin stood up. "I have already made contact with Vex. I sold him faulty ship parts 2 days ago. He does not know they are faulty yet. When his ship's air system fails tomorrow, he will die slowly. The others will think it was an accident." "What about an?" asked. "Watch and learn," Jin said. The team spent the next 3 days preparing, learned how they worked. They did not rush. They did not make mistakes. Every action was planned, every detail checked. Left first. She was going to the trading station as a human trader selling exotic foods from Earth. No one would suspect her. 2 days later, news came through Sora's computers. A soldier named Vex had died on his ship. The air recycling system failed. The investigation said it was a mechanical fault. Bad parts from a human merchant, but the merchant had already left the station. Case closed. One down, Jin said, 42 to go. The next day, another report had been found dead in his quarters. He had injected himself with human narcotics and overdosed. Everyone said he must have been depressed. No one investigated further. Looked at when she returned. How did you get him to take the drugs? I did not, said simply. I made him think he was taking medicine for pain. He did not know the difference until it was too late, and by then he could not call for help. And I am still working on that one, said. He is more careful, but he will make a mistake soon. They always do. While they waited, Sora launched her own attack. But her weapon was not a knife or poison. It was information. She had collected every piece of video that had sent to Earth. All the torture, all the pain, all the proof of what they had done. She released it across the galactic network. Within hours, billions of beings across hundreds of worlds saw what they had done too. They saw her scream. They saw her beg. They saw her break. Some species called for justice. Others turned away in disgust, but everyone knew now. Everyone saw the truth. The Empire tried to block the videos. They tried to claim they were fake. But Sora had made sure they could not be deleted. She had uploaded them to 1,000 servers on 1,000 worlds. The galaxy knows, Sora said. Now they will watch what happens next. Gathered the team. It is time to move faster. They know something is happening. They will start to protect themselves. We need to strike before they realize how serious this is. How many can we eliminate in one night? Wu asked. Smiled, let us find out. They split up. Each one took targets. Each one had a plan. Went to a military base where 5 of his crew members were stationed. He entered as a janitor. No one looked at janitors. He placed small explosives in the ventilation system of their barracks. When they went to sleep that night, the explosives released odorless gas. All 5 died in their beds. The investigation would say it was a carbon monoxide leak. Finally got to, she seduced him in a bar. He thought he was impressing a weak human female. She led him to a private room. His body was found 3 days later in the river. It looked like he had been drunk and fell in. No one suspected murder. Jin worked on the psychological front. He sent messages to every remaining target. The messages were simple. We know what you did too. We are coming. At first the targets laughed. Humans making threats. It was ridiculous. Then they started dying. Then it was not funny anymore. Panic spread amongst crew. They requested protection from their commanders. They demanded investigations. But what could they do? The deaths looked like accidents, like suicides, like random crimes. There was no proof of anything else. Except for the messages, the countdown, the terror that grew each day. Watched all of this with cold satisfaction. He had killed 3 targets himself. Each one had begged. He had not cared. He thought of in her hospital bed and felt nothing but ice in his heart. You are good at this, said one night. They sat alone in the safe house cleaning their weapons. I am good at many things, replied. This is different. Most people cannot separate emotion from killing, but you have learned to use your anger like a tool. That is rare. They hurt my sister. They deserve worse than death, but death is all I can give them. Nodded, just remember, we are not monsters. We are doing this so humans can live in peace. When this is over, we go back to being silent. We fade away. Until someone else hurts one of ours, said. Yes, agreed, until then. Across space, in a fortress that should have been safe, Commander received a message on his private computer. It was from an unknown source. He almost deleted it, but something made him open it. The message showed pictures of his dead crew members, each one marked with a date and time, each one crossed out in red. Below the pictures was a single line of text, You are last. Stood up so fast his chair fell over. He called his guards. He demanded they find who sent the message. But Sora had covered her tracks too well. The message came from nowhere and everywhere at once. For the first time in his life, felt something he had never felt before. Fear. Real deep cold fear. And somewhere in the darkness of space, and her team prepared for the final hunt. The Galactic Assembly meeting hall was filled with representatives from 100 worlds. They had called an emergency session. The topic, the mysterious deaths among the military. The representative stood at the center podium. His scales were dark red, a sign of anger in his species. Earth must answer for these terrorist attacks, he demanded. We have evidence that humans are killing our soldiers. This is an act of war. Evidence? Asked the ambassador, a being made of crystalline structures that reflected light. All I have seen are accidents and unfortunate incidents. 30 deaths in 2 weeks is not coincidence, the shouted. And what about the human girl? Asked another voice. It was the representative from the collective. What about the torture you broadcast to Earth? Was that an accident? The representative's tongue flickered nervously. That was an internal security matter. The officer responsible has been disciplined. Disciplined. The ambassador's crystals glowed brighter. You hurt an innocent researcher for political theater, and you call that discipline. Perhaps what is happening now is simply the galaxy balancing itself. We demand Earth answer these charges. A human representative stood up. It was Ambassador Lee, an elderly woman who had served Earth for 40 years. She walked slowly to the podium. The room went quiet. The Empire claims Earth is responsible for attacks, she said calmly. We deny these claims. We are a peaceful species. We have always pursued diplomatic solutions. You lie, the representative hissed. Ambassador Lee's eyes went cold. Careful how you speak to me. We showed restraint when you tortured one of our children. We showed patience when you sent us videos of her suffering. We showed mercy by not turning your worlds to glass. Do not test that mercy further. The room went silent. No one had ever heard a human speak like this before. If soldiers are dying, Ambassador Lee continued, perhaps you should look inward. Perhaps some of your own people are unhappy with leadership that tortures innocent beings. Perhaps this is your own internal problem. Earth has no comment on such matters. She sat down. The message was clear. Earth would admit nothing, but they would not stop either. The representative tried to argue more, but other species began speaking. Many had suffered under aggression for years. Now they saw someone fighting back. They offered no sympathy. The meeting ended with no resolution. The Empire got no help, no investigation, no justice for their dead soldiers. Earth had won a political victory without saying a single word of truth. On the fortress world where hid, things were falling apart. More crew members had died, 12 in one night, had infiltrated 3 different military bases and eliminated targets with surgical precision. The military tried to increase security, but it was like fighting shadows. Barely slept anymore. Every sound made him jump. Every stranger's face might be an assassin. He had surrounded himself with guards, but he knew it did not matter. If they wanted him dead, guards would not stop them. He was right. Studied the fortress through long-range scanners. It was well protected. Walls, shields, hundreds of soldiers. Getting in would be difficult. Getting out would be harder. We could wait for him to leave, Wu suggested. No, said. He knows we are coming. He will stay there forever if he has to. We need to go in. Impossible, said, looking at the schematics. Too many security layers. Not impossible, Sora said, typing rapidly on her tablet. Difficult but not impossible. I can create a distraction. Disable their shields for exactly 30 seconds, but you would need to be fast. 30 seconds is enough, said. Everyone looked at him. I can get in. I know these fortress designs. I studied them at military academy. There is always a weak point. Studied for a long moment. This is personal for you. Can you stay focused? Dies regardless of my feelings. The only question is how much pain he feels first. I promise you, I will complete the mission. What is your plan? Move to the holographic display. He showed them the fortress layout. Here, the waste disposal system. It connects to the main structure but has minimal security. They think no one would be stupid enough to crawl through sewage to attack a fortress. Wu grinned. I like him. The disposal system leads to the lower levels, continued. From there, we move up through maintenance corridors. Most of the soldiers will be watching the main entrances. We will be ghosts. How many people? Asked. 3, more than that, and we risk detection. Me, you, and Wu. Thought about it. Sora creates the shield disruption. Jin sends false reports to draw security to the wrong areas and provide extraction support from outside. Wu and I go in, get out. Alive, added. We take him alive. Why? Wu asked. A dead is easier to transport. Because my sister deserves to look him in the eye, said quietly. She deserves to have a choice in his fate. We owe her that much. Nodded slowly. Agreed. We take him alive if possible, but if he becomes a liability, we end him there. They spent 2 days preparing. Sora hacked into the fortress computers and mapped every guard rotation, every camera, every sensor. Jin created false intelligence reports about human attacks on other worlds, drawing their attention away from the fortress. When everything was ready, they moved. The approach was quiet. They used a small ship that looked like a garbage hauler. No one challenged them as they landed near the fortress's waste disposal area. Led the way into the sewage tunnels. The smell was terrible, but none of them complained. They had trained for worse. Above them, Sora typed commands into her computer. The fortress shields flickered. Security alarms went off, but by the time they realized what was happening, the 3 humans were already inside. They moved like water through the corridors. When they encountered guards, they disappeared them silently. No alarms, no bodies left behind, just empty hallways and confused security officers wondering where their people went. Jin's false reports kept most of the fortress focused on the perimeter. The thought an attack was coming from outside. They never imagined the enemy was already inside. It took 3 hours to reach quarters, 3 hours of perfect execution, 3 hours of becoming invisible. Sat in his room, surrounded by 6 elite guards. He was watching the security feeds, paranoid and afraid. Commander, one of his guards said, perhaps you should rest. We have seen no signs of infiltration. You do not understand, hissed. They are here. I know they are here. I can feel it. Commander, you are being irrational. The guard never finished his sentence. Wu emerged from the ventilation shaft above and broke his neck before he hit the ground. The other guards barely had time to reach for their weapons before and were on them. The fight lasted 15 seconds. When it was over, all 6 guards were dead or unconscious and was on his knees with his weapon pressed to his head. Please, begged. I was following orders. My superiors told me to send a message to Earth. I was just doing my job. My sister was just doing her job too, said coldly. She was studying plants, trying to help people. You tortured her for 3 days. I will tell you anything you want to know. I will testify against my commanders. Please do not kill me. Wanted to pull the trigger. Every part of him screamed to end this creature right now, but he had made a promise. You are going to Earth, said. You are going to face the person you hurt. Then and only then will you die. They injected with a sedative and bound him. Wu threw him over his shoulder like a bag of garbage. Extraction point in 10 minutes, said into her communicator. Sora, we need that shield disruption again. Already working on it, Sora replied. They moved back through the fortress, but this time alarms were blaring. Someone had found the dead guards. The entire base was searching for intruders. "We have company," Wu said calmly as they rounded a corner. 20 soldiers stood between them and the exit. "Surrender," the soldiers commanded. Smiled no. What happened next would become legend among the 3 humans fought through 20 trained soldiers in less than 2 minutes. When it was over, the humans walked away without a scratch, and the lay broken on the floor. They reached the waste disposal system. The shields flickered again, Sora's work. They climbed out and ran for the extraction ship. Had the engines running, provided covering fire as fighters scrambled to intercept, but they were too slow. The ship jumped to hyperspace before they could get a targeting lock. Inside the ship looked its unconscious form. "It is almost over," said. "No," replied. "It is just beginning. Every species watching will know what happened here. They will know that Earth does not forgive, Earth does not forget, and Earth never stops hunting." Back on the fortress world, the commander stared at the security footage in disbelief. 3 humans had infiltrated his impenetrable fortress, killed his best soldiers, and kidnapped a high-ranking officer. And no one had stopped them. The message was clear: nowhere was safe. The journey back to Earth took 5 days, spent most of it in a small cell, alone with his thoughts and his fear. Sometimes he heard voices outside. Sometimes he heard nothing. Both were equally terrifying. On the 3rd day, Jin visited him. Jin sat outside the cell with a tablet, reading reports. 43 targets, Jin said conversationally. "All eliminated, some quickly, some slowly. You are the only one left." "What are you going to do with me?" asked. His voice shook. "That is not my decision," Jin replied. "That choice belongs to someone else." "The girl, she is probably dead by now. Humans are weak, they break easily." Jin looked up from his tablet. His eyes were empty. "You are wrong about that. She lives, and she is waiting for you." Felt his blood go cold. When they arrived at Earth, saw a world he had thought was weak and harmless, but what he saw from the ship's viewport changed his mind. Earth was beautiful, yes, but he saw the orbital defense platforms, the military ships, the weapons satellites. This was not a weak world. This was a world that had been preparing for war while pretending to want peace. They brought him to a facility deep in the mountains. It was not a prison, it was not a court, it was something else, something colder. Admiral Park met them at the landing bay. She looked at with disgust. "This is the creature that hurt?" she asked. "Yes, Admiral," confirmed. "He looks like a coward." "He is," said. Admiral Park nodded. "The girl is ready, take him to her." They walked through long corridors. His legs felt weak. He stumbled several times. Wu had to drag him. "Please," begged, "just kill me. Do not make me face her." "You should have thought of that before," said. They reached a room with a single window. Inside sat in a wheelchair. She had recovered somewhat in the weeks since they brought her home. The bandages were gone. The physical wounds were healing, but her eyes still carried shadows. When she saw, something changed in those eyes. Not fear, not even hate, just a cold, hard understanding. They brought into the room and forced him to his knees in front of her, studied him for a long moment. "You look smaller than I remember," she said quietly. I am sorry," stammered. "I was following orders I never wanted." "Be quiet," said. Her voice was soft, but it cut like glass. "You do not get to speak unless I ask you a question." His mouth snapped shut. Wheeled closer to him. "Do you remember what you said to me on the 3rd day when I was begging you to stop?" Said nothing, just shook his head. "You said that my species needed to learn our place, that we were weak, that we would always be nothing." His hands gripped the wheelchair arms. "You were wrong." She looked at. Her brother stood by the door, watching everything. "Where are the others?" asked. "The ones who held me down, the ones who laughed." "Dead," said. "All of them." "How many people did you kill to reach him?" asked. 42. Looked back at. "You hear that? 42 of your people died because of what you did to me. 42 lives ended because you wanted to prove how strong you were. I did not know, whispered. I did not know your species would. Would what? Fight back, defend our own. Did you think we would just accept it? Did you think we would bow down and call you superior? His voice grew stronger. You made a mistake. You thought compassion meant weakness. You thought diplomacy meant fear. You learned too late that the kindest people make the enemies when you push them too far. She turned to Admiral Park, who stood watching from the corner. Has the Empire responded to his capture? Yes, Admiral Park said. They demand his return. They say we have no right to hold him. And what did we tell them? Nothing. We do not negotiate with species who torture our people. Nodded, she looked at again. I am going to ask you one question. Answer truthfully. If you lie, I will know, and your death will take days instead of seconds. Nodded frantically. Why me? Asked. Why did you choose me? His voice was barely a whisper. You smiled at us when we boarded your ship. You tried to talk to us peacefully. You showed no fear. It made me angry. How dare you show no fear of how dare you treat us like equals? Closed her eyes. So you tortured me for 3 days because I was polite to you. Yes. She opened her eyes again. They were wet with tears, but her voice stayed steady. Then I curse you with the memory of what you have learned too late, that human kindness is a choice, not a weakness. And when you take that choice away, you unleash something far worse. She looked at, I am ready. Nodded, he had been waiting for this moment. He said gently, Earth law gives you the choice. He hurt you. His fate is yours to decide, death or trial in the Galactic Assembly. If I choose trial, what happens? Asked. He might be freed on a technicality, Admiral Park said honestly. The Assembly is political. They might sacrifice justice for peace with the Empire. Then I choose death, said. Her voice did not waver. Not because I want revenge, but because the galaxy needs to understand that this has consequences, real, final consequences. How? Asked. Thought for a moment. He wanted to break me, to make me scream and beg. I will not give him the same. He dies quickly, painlessly, because I am not him. I am better than him. She looked at one last time. You wanted to prove that your species was superior to mine. Instead, you proved the opposite. You showed the galaxy that hurt the innocent for pride, and you showed them that humanity will hunt across the stars to protect our own. History will remember you, but not as a warrior, as a lesson. Stepped forward, he placed his hand on shoulder, closed his eyes, trembling. For the record, said formally, Commander of the Empire is executed by order of the victim for crimes against humanity. One shot, clean, fast, fell forward and did not move again. Did not look away. She watched until it was over. Then she let out a long breath. It is done, she said quietly. Knelt beside her wheelchair. Are you all right? No, said honestly. I do not know if I will ever be all right again, but I am alive, and he is not. That is something. 2 weeks later, Earth made a formal announcement to the Galactic Assembly. Ambassador Lee stood at the podium. The entire galaxy was watching. For those who have asked about the recent deaths among military personnel, she said, Earth makes the following statement. Justice has been served. All individuals responsible for the torture of the human researcher have been held accountable. This is an admission of war crimes, the representative shouted. Ambassador Lee ignored him. Earth wishes to make our position clear to all species in the galaxy. We are a peaceful people. We prefer diplomacy and cooperation. We will trade with you. We will share knowledge with you. We will be your friends. She paused and her voice became ice. But if you harm one of ours, we will find you. We do not care about your military might. We do not care about your political influence. We do not care about borders or treaties or diplomatic immunity. We will hunt you across the stars, and we will make you answer for what you have done. This is terrorism, the representative screamed. "No," said the ambassador quietly. "This is justice, something the Empire has forgotten." Other species began speaking. Many had suffered under aggression for years. Now they saw Earth standing up to the bullies. One by one, they voiced support. The Empire found itself isolated. They tried to rally support, but no one would help them. They had made too many enemies. In the end, they sued for peace. They agreed to pay reparations to Earth. They agreed to new treaties limiting their military expansion. They agreed to investigate their own people for war crimes. Earth accepted the terms, but everyone knew the real message. Earth had won not through diplomacy but through fear. In the months that followed, the silent executioners faded back into the shadows. Wu, Sora, and Jin returned to their secret facility. Officially, they did not exist. Unofficially, every species in the galaxy knew about them. Stories spread. Whispers of human assassins who could go anywhere, kill anyone, and vanish without a trace. Some stories were exaggerated. Some were true. Earth neither confirmed nor any of them. Returned to his military duties. He received a medal for his service, though the citation was classified. He visited every week. Slowly recovered. The physical wounds healed. The mental ones would take longer. She started counseling other victims of violence. She found purpose in helping others heal. One day, 6 months after everything ended, she walked into a memorial garden. Earth had built it to honor the victims of violence across the galaxy. At its center was a simple stone with names carved into it. The names of the 43 soldiers who had been executed for what they did to her. She placed a single white flower at the base of the stone. Stood in the shadows nearby, watching. She had been there the whole time, protecting without being seen. Turned, somehow knowing was there. Their eyes met. "Thank you," said softly. Nodded once and disappeared into the garden. Stood there for a long time looking at the names. She thought about what she had lost, what she had gained, what the galaxy had learned. She thought about the title some journalist had given to the event, the Silent Executioners. It had stuck. Now every species knew that name. Every species knew what it meant. Earth had shown the galaxy two faces. One was peaceful, kind, and hopeful. The other was cold, efficient, and merciless. Both were real. Both were human. Turned and walked away from the memorial. She had a session with a patient in an hour, a teenager who had been attacked by criminals. She would help them heal, just as others had helped her. Because that was the other lesson the galaxy needed to learn. Humans could kill when necessary, but they preferred to heal. They preferred to build. They preferred to create. But if you took away that choice, if you hurt the innocent just to prove your power, then you would meet the other side of humanity. And you would not survive it. Somewhere in the darkness of space, a new threat was forming. Another species, watching Earth's response, planning their own test of human resolve. They would learn as they had learned. Earth did not forget, Earth did not forgive, and Earth never stopped hunting. The silent executioners waited in the shadows, ready for the next time someone needed a reminder of what happened when you tortured a human girl.